as a dessert, but they're really delicious. That recipe, as with all of them, is on Instagram at JHB Foodie Cyclist, and probably on your Instagram as well by now, I should imagine, Rob. So. Yeah, really, really tasty, really, really simple. I advise people to make them for the weekend when they're getting into the bones of this tour, just as a snack to keep them going throughout the day.
Thanks, John. And no, I haven't been on the gram today yet. I've been doing proper work, but I will get there, don't you worry. I'll tell you what, you talked about lunch. I think I have a salady thing approaching soon. Could do with a few more of those, couldn't I?
Salady things, I mean, they're good.
Yes.
They're very good. Steak things are good too.
The problem is I've had a few too many of those.
Steak things and pizza things, probably, Rob, there.
Do you know what? Robbie McEwen made us all steaks last night. Just throwing a bit of steaky things in there. It was absolutely delicious.
Oh, outstanding. Which cut of meat did he do for you?
Oh, no, now you're asking me, John. I have no idea. All I know is it tasted delightful.
Was it? But do you know? Did he ask you how you'd like it cooked, or did he just go
actually.
Wait? Okay.
He went in strong with the confidence of obviously knowing how to cook a steak to perfection, because it was.
Knocked off the cap. Might have to get Robbie to come round to this office.
I mean, are we sowing the seeds here of a Eurosport cycling cook-off?
Sounds good to me.
Harris Bass versus McEwen. Yeah.
Who's going
to be the tomatoes? Who's going to be the peppers?
No, I think can't cook, won't cook first, and we'll have. I mean, my goodness, I'm throwing aspersions at people. I was going to do Adam and Danny could take each other on.
Yeah.
There we go.
I'm confident in that battle.
Yeah, I think you should be.
Right then. On that bombshell, time to go off for a commercial break. See you in a moment. I'm half expecting that door to open behind you, Danny, to see either McEwen or Blythe run in to give us a reply to some of that. Now then, here we go. Oh, this is not the image we want to see. But this is Pello Bilbao stepping off the bike. And Pello Bilbao looks like he's about to say goodbye to the Tour de France.
This is such a huge shame, not only for him as an individual, but for everyone, his family, the team.
Shakes his head. There is a huge disappointment. This is never a decision that's taken lightly.
No, it's not. I think it was clear to see from the start of this stage that he was suffering from the off. And again, it is speculation, but there must be something going around the camp. Similar to Fred Wright yesterday, he knew from trying to go into that first move of the day and then just going backwards that there's something not quite right.
Animo Pello. Doctor inquiring as to how he is. Quick explanation. Of course, they will know internally within the team what the problem is. Tests will be done. And well, that is sad news. Another abandonment at the Tour de France. Pello Bilbao is now the second man from Bahrain victorious to have to leave the race after yesterday. Fred Wright endured the heartbreak of being outside the time limit. We knew that there was illness around the team yesterday. Separate cars to the start, masks on, but Bilbao struggling for much of the stage so far. And Danny, at these points you can sometimes just dig yourself a deeper hole and you have to take medical advice. As disappointed as Bilbao will be, if the decision's been made, it's obviously the right one.
Yeah, it is, and these athletes will know their bodies inside out, and they'll know what can be fought against and what can't, and I think it's clear that that decision had to be made there for Pello Bilbao, looking at the bigger picture and not wanting to dig himself too deep, and then it'd be just longer for him to come back from. But it's heartbreak, because these riders just put so much into this tour. This is the biggest stage, of course. So many sacrifices, doing absolutely everything they can to be in the best possible shape. And when this sort of thing happens, it's absolutely gutting.
Your television viewers rejoin us with the disappointing news that Pello Bilbao has had to abandon the Tour de France. We've probably seen it coming throughout the stage so far. He's been fighting, he's been riding, but Bilbao has had to take the decision to step off the bike. And as we're explaining to our digital viewers who saw it live, it is never an easy decision to take, and if it's taken with the consideration and advice, it is always the right one. All the best to Pello Bilbao, second rider in 24 hours to leave the race for Bahrain victorious. A reminder, if you don't want to miss a moment of any of our bike races, join us on Discovery Plus, where you'll also be able to see races back as well as live. Watch everything on demand, and that applies to the Giro d'Italia women. The stage has just finished. If you want to split screen, if you want to go back and watch what happened, make sure you join us on Discovery Plus. Here at the Tour de France, with Bilbao now leaving the race, we are 11 riders down now. 165 riders remain. Start of the day, we were minus Miguel Marco, who was out with COVID. A short word about him, because it is how he finishes his Tour de France career, and will not be the way he would have wanted to finish. We hope he can recover and we can see him at the Olympic Games, because that is one of his big personal season goals. Of course, he's already helped Mark Cavendish to do what he wanted to do, but I'm sure he would have wanted to make it to Nice. All the best too to Miguel Marco. And we know that Fabio Jakobsen has also abandoned the race today. Wind blowing across the road here. And this is Jonas Ricard, suffering after a crash earlier on. Taking the toll now, this race.
It is, and every single day that fatigue is going to be getting higher and higher, and it's the ability to be able to deal with that fatigue that I guess sees those GC riders move into the fore. And that is again what is so impressive to me, not just because of their physical strengths, but the mental toughness and resilience. It's so impressive that these riders just can't have a day off, versus, you know, the sprinters or domestiques that can afford to lose time if they have a bad day. All eyes are on you, scrutinizing every single move that you make.
Yevgeny Fedorov is just in front of him, looking around for the team. Cavendish from Astana, Kazakhstan. Without Merkel today, but he will be trying to be there in the sprint. By the way, one team up the road, Torjus, we've talked about their bikes being stolen overnight. Just had a message from Hannah, who's got a bit more detail on that, and she said that they had 154,000 euros worth of bikes stolen, 11 bikes and mechanics toolboxes. That's an absolute shocker for Total Energy. Here's Mark Cavendish talking about today.
Today, a possible bunch sprint. How many chances do you have left in the tour regarding a possible stage win?
There's a couple of sprint opportunities. I don't think I need to do anything else personally, but we were a sprint team and we'll try. I think there'll be a few teams try and split it today. It's not an easy first half of the stage. We just take every day as it comes.
How are you feeling, Mark? We're hearing illness in the peloton. How are you doing? You were looking good yesterday.
I'm feeling okay, thank you. Yeah, that's the thing. I think our team is taking a responsible decision. Michael's not well, so that protects himself. It protects every other rider and everybody out to watch the tour. I know there's riders riding with COVID in the peloton, and that can affect everybody. There's not much you can do about that, is there?
Have a good one today.
Thank you.
Disappointed there, visibly disappointed Mark Cavendish, I think, there this morning, Danny, but will he still be motivated? That's a silly question, isn't he? He's here at the Tour de France. Of course he'll still be motivated.
Of course he will be motivated, and of course he doesn't have to do anything else. You know, that stage win has been taken, Project 35 ticked off, but knowing the rider that Mark Cavendish is and the way that his mind works, of course he's going to give it a go in every single opportunity that he has got left. So what is it, 2 more sprint stages after today? He will very much be going for it, and he's got the team around him, he's got the pressure off. And if he can get over this part of the stage, then he's got a very, very good chance. So yeah, I mean, he was obviously a little bit disappointed maybe in that question there, but he will be going for it today, and it is a real shame to lose Murkoff, one of the instrumental parts of his lead out. But I think for Mark Cavendish, he's also very, very good at positioning himself in a final and using other teams in that instance as well. So yeah, another opportunity for him today.
I gather Robbie's back. I gather Robbie's back.
Yep, I am back, Rob. Oh, you're sounding very strange in our headphones here. I don't know if you've had a little malfunction there, but I'm not sure if everyone else can hear Rob as well. But I am back. I'm back for a bit of a stint. I was actually really enjoying. I was meant to be back just about 7 or 8 kilometres ago, actually 13 kilometres ago. But I thought I'd just let it all breathe with your 2 wonderful voices and enjoy the scenery.
But when we were talking about how good you were at cooking steak.
Whatever.
Oh,
You just wanted a longer
I
lunch
was just
break.
watching the I was just watching the pictures. I was just watching the scenery, really, the chateaus, as they were riding along and through the gorge. It's just a beautiful part of France, and there are so many wonderful places to ride. I didn't always get to enjoy them. When you're racing the Tour de France, you often just don't take in the scenery. You're very unaware of where you are, and it's only then later, after my career, when I was at the Tour but not racing, I got to go and just do some leisurely rides, and then you realise I was riding on the course, but I had the time to just take it all in.
And that was something that I really enjoyed when I stopped riding professionally, actually being able to ride my bike for what it was and take the time to look around, not just be fixated on, what was in front of me or my power meter if we were doing any sort of efforts. And I remember being asked questions, wow, what is this place like, that place like? And I had to say, I actually do not have a clue, sadly, because that is all you're thinking about, getting the process done. So yeah, it's lovely now, isn't it, to be able to enjoy it.
Was it awe-inspiring, what, someone else's back wheel and backside?
Exactly that.
I remember one year they played a video at the start of the Tour de France, the rider briefing, and it just looked so spectacular. Oh, I've got to go there one time, and it zoomed down. It was actually the race of the year before, and I was there, just never noticed.
Now then, just under 110 kilometres to go. I gather that we are going to go off and have a brief chat live with our main man on the motorbike. Matt Stevens live via the magic of television. Matt, it's a pleasure to talk to you on the motorbike. Lots going on. We've had various shots off the back. How are you seeing it? We've seen Bilbao abandon, other people in trouble.
Yeah, really bad. I saw Bilbao go early on. I also saw Dylan Groenewegen very early on get dropped on a climb that he wouldn't ordinarily get dropped on. And I also yesterday saw the very sad images of our very own Fred Wright out of the race. So the Tour de France, or any elite sporting event, it puts so much pressure on riders. But there does appear, especially in relation to Bahrain Victorious, that there's something going round. I don't know exactly what that is in terms of the team communication. I was speaking to them this morning, but they wouldn't tell me exactly what was wrong. They just said they're looking into it at the moment. So they're sharing information, but it couldn't be any more specific than that. But clearly, when 2 very, very classy riders are uncharacteristically dropped from the peloton, it does say that something is clearly wrong.
Matt, it's very, very fast in the race today. We've got this breakout there. It looks as though now Alpecin and Movistar have them on a pretty tight leash. How are you seeing it all play out? Because it doesn't look like it's slowing down from where we're sitting.
incredible. The last couple of stages, my introduction to the motorbike has been fast and it has been furious. I mean, we hardly dipped below what it seemed 60 k's an hour for the first hour of racing, and it does look as if, I mean, let's be honest, it's a very strong break. It's only 4 strong, so it's a proper team time trial. You've got to take your hat off to Abrahamson. It looks like he is going to stay away to get the next KOM to draw level, but it does look as if it is going to come back to a bunch sprint. But although there's not much wind, the little bit of wind there is a tailwind, and we do have generally faster roads today, but it does look as if with not many more sprint opportunities to come in this race, that the sprinters want to bring this back together, and they have kept this on a very, very tight leash indeed. We are going through some stunning scenery. It's super hot as well, as you can tell my jersey's unzipped. 6 degrees out here, but I do tend to agree, especially seeing Movistar as well, because we know Gaviria's going well. It does look as if it is going to come back, but it's great to see the riders. I mean, we could have had a situation similar to the other day where nobody wanted to go for it, but great to see Groupama FDJ in the mix. They desperately want something with this race, but it does look like it's going to be an inevitable sprint today, Rob.
Yeah, you mentioned you've got your jacket down there as well, Matt. How's it going in terms of surviving on the motorbike? Because we've been watching you, and Sean Kelly commented on this the other day. Your jacket seems to be getting lower and lower and lower as you open the window on the day. Have you got used to it yet? You talked about it being a roller coaster.
I tell you what, this is my pilot here, Jean-Marie. He was in ACPB a couple of years before me, so we both have ridden for the Parisian club, so we kind of got on straight away. We had a glass of wine last year at the Tour de France FAM, and do you know what? The most anxious thing for me before I did this was trusting your motopilot, because we are descending at 90, 100 k's an hour, and then when we're getting across gaps, we're going even more. But at no point have I felt unsafe. It's just thrilling. It's exhilarating. It's a privilege to do this. But importantly, I trust this man. We've been sharing Haribo, nuts, jokes. He keeps laughing when I do a bit of franglais. But no, we're getting on very well. But what a job. It's an absolute privilege. I am having a blast. And yeah, but I am pretty keen on this jacket. It's turning a few heads.
Well, Matt, I think you need to go and see Adam's mate Rosetta if you want to improve the franglais. For now, though, we'll leave you. Merci. Always good to hear from Matt. I'm so glad he's enjoying himself, Robbie.
I'm glad he's enjoying himself too. And
is it going to stop pedaling or what?
Was what is the temperature like down there? Because I had also noticed he's got his beautiful jacket wide open today. And I was going to ask him if he was also taking in the scenery like I was earlier, and that was a positive to that one as well. He's admiring everything he can,
pedaling.
not just the riders on the road and the race caravan, and also the sights.
What a fucking piece of
shit. It was
shit.
interesting to note what he said about seeing Dylan Groenewegen being just slightly dropped at one point on a small climb, which was a bit of a surprise. And where we did hear, I just want to go back to that interview with Mark Cavendish we heard just before, talking about his own teammate who didn't start today, Michael Murku, his lead-out man, because he has COVID. And how Mark mentioned, he's taken the responsibility for himself, but also the team and others within the race to try not to get others sick, to infect others with the same thing he's got, and went on to say that he knows for a fact there's others racing with COVID. I won't speculate that is absolutely what the others have abandoned. Definitely an illness. I'll wait for them to say what it was, but it's something that, yeah, I can see that the one side where Mark says Mercu has pulled out to protect himself, protect his teammates. I think that's a good thing. It is a really difficult one when you do hear of some people who are sick but asymptomatic. If they do a test and they're positive but they don't have symptoms. Others who decide, you know what, we've lived with this thing for so long now, and it's basically like having the flu. Some people, they might feel others are making too much of a fuss about it, and you're in the biggest race of the season. It's a tricky one.
It's a tricky one anyway. None of us are medical professionals, and every case is different. So I certainly wouldn't want to, you know, disappoint or hurt anyone who's watching at home and might be really, really struggling with it, because it is
No.
different for
Yeah,
everybody
it
at
is
all,
different.
isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, you have to trust each decision as they're made, and everything affects everybody in different ways. And this is Alpecin-Deceuninck, who are trying to affect the race in their own way. Same with Movistar, who are trying to race today for Fernando Gaviria.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is the first time that Movistar have made a sort of stage-long contribution to a chase like this. Alpecin, that was the expected. Intermarché, they're doing what I thought was the right thing for them to do in the situation of green. See how it all pans out. Just saying that Intermarché are doing what I expected for the green jersey, being defensive with just a couple of sprint opportunities left in this race. A 76-point gap, or was it 74? 70-something gap between Biniam Gourmet and Jasper Philipsen. It's sort of textbook to try to avoid giving your nearest opponent the opportunity to close the gap. And if that means not sprinting for a stage win, it's a lot easier to do that if you've already got a couple up your sleeve, like Biniam Gourmet has. So I totally understand their position. I've seen it done so many times over the years, and we did it in our team with me when I was racing for green and had it. Some days you say, let's just be more conservative. But if it comes down to a sprint, you still back yourself and you do everything you can to win, but you don't make the day-long effort to do it. And the big upside of that, if another team does bring it back, you're left with all your resources intact for the best lead-out you can possibly provide. But there'll be a lot of other teams hitching their wagon onto that and saying, well, if Intermarché aren't going to ride, neither are we. We'll hang back. And after seeing Philipsen and the lead out of Alpecin-Deceuninck a couple of days ago when he won, they would love to deplete their resources, hopefully for the rest of the teams, that Alpecin-Deceuninck have to use guys that would normally be reserved for that final 2 or 3 kilometres, and that they might just come up a little bit short and give the others a better chance of beating Jasper Philipsen.
103 kilometres to go. 1:49 is the gap, and for the next little while you'll be listening to Carlton Kirby.
Thank you, Rob. Beautiful dappled sunshine, and the threat of rain seems to have abated. Still have some clouds knocking around. Virtually no wind today, Robbie, to disturb the process.
No, it's a beautiful day out there. We just heard Matt Stevens say how warm it is for him, although he's riding in a big, thick motorbike jacket, well, passengering, pillion in his big, thick motorbike jacket. But it does get very, very warm, especially when you're riding along these gorges completely protected from any breeze whatsoever. It can start feeling really hot, and we're heading south.
Thanks to Rob Hatch, to Danny, of course. I'll be hearing from Adam a little bit later on, but Sean Kelly comes and joins us in the commentary position as well. We're just going to wait to rejoin our wider cycling fraternity. We'll be back from a commercial break shortly, but yeah, ever casting our minds down the road, to be honest, I thought that this breakaway might have been extinguished if the idea was to pick up some, or indeed contest the intermediate sprints. That is arriving soon, in about 10 kilometres time. So, and it looks like our breakaway is going to enjoy it. Welcome back, everybody. Rob Hatch will be back with you a little bit later on to take us to the line today. This is the end of the tidy zone, where everyone just releases their spent gel cases and the like, just to make sure that everything's tidied up. Very much become at the forefront of our thoughts over the last couple of years. Bidons used to get pinged just about everywhere. Now, if you hand them to a fan, you're likely to avoid a fine, but you can still get indeed a sanction for littering. Haven't seen any yet, but I imagine they've been ringing down. Swiss francs, you have to pay it in, and to be honest, the way the Swiss franc is hovering at the moment, that makes it ever more expensive. So something to be avoided, littering that is. Stick to the zones. 2 minutes. Sean Kelly, welcome back to the commentary position. We've got an intermediate sprint coming up, and our breakaway is going to take the lion's share of it. There'll still be a contest for the points that remain, because on an intermediate, there's 20 points up for grabs, so 20, 17, 15 and 13. There will be 11 available for those chasing in, and you can be sure the way that Jasper Philipsen has driven the day, he's going to want to be a feature.
Yes, for sure. The green jersey classification, anybody is in there in the standing there, they're going to try and pick up some points. Not only the two men who are really duking it out here for that green jersey, Guillermo and Philipsen, there will be others as well that will get involved, but this is turning out to be another real difficult day. You know, the breakaway, they are putting up a real strong push. 2 minutes, it did come down on that 2 minutes, and this is, you know, a day we've seen riders. Anybody is not feeling well, you're going to suffer, and we've already had some abandons, and there's a lot of riders just trying to cling on to the rear of the peloton, and we can see, you know, up and down, it's a very, very difficult day for all.
And indeed, for those who are unwell, Fabio Jakobsen giving us a wave, farewell from the race, which is such a shame, and same deal for Peyo Bilbao, I'm afraid. Second member of the Bahrain Victorious team after Fred Wright was ordealé yesterday, clearly unwell, and there is something unfortunate washing through some of the teams here in terms of illness. We'll wait to find out what it is for everybody. Mirko also heading home today. I think we're going to catch up with Matt again on the bike.
Okay, I'm with this beautiful yellow motorbike here, and this is the motorbike that gives the time gaps, or le cal, to the breakaway and to the peloton. Now, the time gaps are in the modern age used as transponders. That's the ones we'll see on the television, but this is proper old school analog. So this vehicle will basically sit at the side of the road, start the stopwatch and wait at the side of the road until the peloton pass by. The time gap will then be written on the chalkboard just here. As you can see, that's the gap at the moment, and that will be relayed back to the peloton and to the breakaway. So these guys are constantly going forward and back, and updating the time gap. Merci beaucoup. Merci. Back to the commentators.
Such a familiar sight. They've actually tried in the past to update the chalkboards. Sometimes you see a whiteboard and they've used a dry marker. Doesn't look as clear to me. And as we come to the intermediate sprint here, they also used diodes once, but whenever the sun shone you couldn't see it, and so back to chalk, Robbie. I like the old school.
I quite like the old school, rather than also the motorbike going backwards and forwards between the front group and the peloton with the time checks. I've also seen it done. I've had the opportunity once to ride in an official vehicle. I've heard the radio communication between the time board motorbike and the commissaire's car that's back at the peloton, and they'll take a prominent roadside feature and they'll say, all right, we're coming past a certain building or landmark, whatever it is, and we're going to pass it in 3, 2, 1, top, and they start their stopwatch. So then when the official's car gets there, they'll hit it, radio back, and they'll say 1 minute 57. And then the motorbike doesn't have to go backwards and forwards, because of course in the time they're going backwards and forwards, the time gap can change significantly, and we sometimes see that with the live computer chip timing that we see on our TV screens. But I still do like the old analog style timing motorbike. This sprint, by the way, we're talking about the tussle between Biniam Girmay and Jasper Philipsen. Both were at the front of the peloton. Biniam Girmay was moving his way forward with his teammates. I reckon there'll also be a bit of a battle here between Anthony Turgis and Jonas Abrahamsson, because they're actually at the moment 3rd and 4th in the points competition. Turgis on 121 points, Abrahamsson on 107, significantly behind the top two. But why wouldn't you want to be 3rd in the points classification? And neither of them bunch sprinters. So this is where they can make their mark and keep themselves up high.
It'll be Turgis versus Abrahamsson, I'm almost certain of it, unless Turgis feels like he's gifted the mountains single points on the category 4s, and it might well be a kind of a gentleman's excuse me here, where Turgis goes for it, and Abramson finishes just behind him. 20 and 17. I don't know. What do you reckon?
Well, it could be, and that's a reasonable thought to have. But when I think back in the other breaks that Jonas Abrahamsson has been in throughout this tour, he's gone out and taken everything.
He has. And you know what? He's such a big unit. You wouldn't argue with him either. Let's see. We are coming, what, in about 93.6. You were thinking of mentioning me then, weren't you?
No. I was thinking back to the interview I saw. Actually, Dan Lloyd did an interview a while back with Jonas Abrahamsson, who, it's been well publicised. We've spoken about a lot. Who, compared to 4 or 5 years ago, Jonas Abrahamsson has put on 20 kilo rather than starving himself trying to be a pure climber. I was just thinking how many weight divisions he's stepped up in the last few years. He skipped through about 3 or 4, surely.
Do you know, I was worried about the street furniture. They've squirted, it looks like an homage to the Giro. They've squirted some fluorescent pink paint on the entrance to them as we come through Le Vigan. As you can see as well, getting lively on the front is Movistar, I believe. Where is Gaviria? He's in 5th place in this, in the overall classification. Let's see whether he indeed spoils the fun. Just about to approach intermediate sprint. We've got about 2 kilometres to go still before we get there. Sean, do you think it's going to be contested from the break between Turgis and Abramson?
Well, I think they will be allowed to ride over in the front of this four-man
the pair of them head to head. Well,
I'm not sure will they be really much of a sprint, but Abramson, he likes to pick up everything is available here, and yeah, you would expect that he will have a go for it, but sometimes you see that they just, whoever is on the front, but it will be the 2 men who are up there in the points classification will take the top points available here. And the run into it here is a little bit technical as well. At the 1,000 metres it does twist around a bit, and then before you get into that final straight there is a left-hander. So for the bunch it's going to be a bit more complicated getting in, because they will be coming in at a much faster rate than the 4 leaders will be.
Just looking at the gap, it's kind of holding station just for the time being. They've done a monster of a job today, Robbie, to stay away, haven't they? With, I mean, the pace today's been very high.
The pace has been extremely high from the get-go.
Average 46.6, yeah.
That motoring on this terrain, early on there was that decent descent that kept it right up there, actually above 51 early in the race. But yeah, they've been really pushing on, but never given much leeway, because the chase behind, led by Alberson de Koenig, they realised the firepower that's up here. Turgis, who's won the gravel stage 9 to Trois. Abrahamsson, who's been difficult to catch a couple of times already. And then the 2 riders from Groupama FDJ. No slouches. And anyone who can have the power to get up the road at this stage of the tour, you need to take seriously.
I think this will be the order they roll over, because Abramson would quite like the next mountains point, and if he can test this with Turgis, who's ahead of him in the points classification, I think that single point, mind you, is getting a bit lively here. No, that's the way they're going to go. As suspected, Turgis gets this intermediate sprint, and Abramson will get the mountains point still to come if they make it there.
Yes, well, as I was expecting, whoever was on the front of the 2 men in the green jersey classification, they'd ride over, and that is the case here. They're thinking, they still have that 1 minute 46. They are believing still that they can keep the peloton at bay for a long time, and they are doing a great job. They've done a great ride up to here, but still 93 kilometres to go. Back in the peloton, it is going to be a difficult one, as we can see the sprint being prepared by the team of Guilherme here in the lead out into this intermediate sprint point.
First time they've hit the front today. Intermarché, not to chase the break, but to lead out their man, but Jasper Philipsen, he is in the wheel of Biniam Guilherme. And just having seen that little uphill sprint, it's going to be a tight one between these 2.
Well, you know what? Of the pair of them, I suspect that Biniam Guilherme will sustain this a little bit better. Let's wait and see. He's certainly got the lead-out train to do it. There was speculation earlier on today. Kokar also getting involved here. But it's Biniam Guilherme with 2 teammates at his disposal. But Philipsen looks absolutely lethal, waiting to make his move just for the time being. They come around this little left-hander. It does have a slight rise to it, and but Biniam Guilherme goes for it right now. Philipsen on his wheel, double checks, and it looks like honours even for this one. Biniam Guilherme well, we know he likes a little bit of lumpy stuff, or is not averse to it. And I think that was a job well done, Robbie.
It was a very well done job by Intermarché. The telltale sign came actually with around 450 metres to go, where Jasper Philipsen was out of the saddle already looking like he's sprinting, and Gourmet completely comfortable, smaller gear, seated, just riding a really smooth, nice cadence. And Philipsen already looked like he was at his maximum on that uphill. So points for Gourmet, extends his lead by 3.
Gourmet picking up 11 points there. I think it was Philipsen getting 10.
Oh, sorry,
so,
by 1,
so
yeah,
just the
sorry.
1, yes. But
At the 75.
Yeah, we'll see it, yes, the magic 75. That was a nice little sprint for Gourmet there. Sean?
Well, a very strong sprint, and the team did it perfectly. They made it real difficult, very, very fast. We could see there, you know, at least 4 riders from Intermarché Wanty just blasting up the pace, and the uphill for Gourmet, of course, you know, that is his real forte point in a sprint, and we could see, you know, Philipsen just wasn't able to get near him at all, and didn't really try in the last number of meters. You could see that look around over the shoulder, see whether anybody else close proximity, just to make sure they didn't go overcome him in the final meters. And yeah, more points in the bag, but still this battle is going to go on, and we're going to see many of the same situations where the intermediate sprints are going to be contested majorly.
We're going to hear from Biniam Gourmet at the beginning of the day. That's where nobody's permitted to speak to them when they're in action. Here he is.
Vinny, another important day for the fight of the green jersey. What do you think about today? Because you have a solid lead, but if a breakaway went away, you didn't have to care about the points. What are you guys planning about today's stage?
Yeah, I think you already answered all the questions. You know, for us, it's not in our shoulder to control the race, so we don't care how many guys went to the front. And for us, if they cover top 10 place, even top 3, for us this is the most points, so we will be happy for sure. But yeah, in the other hand also I felt super good, so I would like to try for another victory. You know, it's everything. If I have this kind of legs, why not I also try to win a stage and to gain more points. But yeah, for us we don't have any pressure. We just need to feel the race, and then if the breakaway goes, we don't need to chase really well. You know, it's not that we need. So for us, if the breakaway goes, it goes. If it's not, we also try to do the sprint.
And it looks like a sprint is what we're going to have. It's 1 minute and 39. They need to hang on. Abramson wants to hold on, so he draws level with Tadej Pogačar in the polka dot jersey competition. Level will not be good enough because it's on countback on indeed the peaks you've taken, and indeed the nature of them. And of course, Pogačar yesterday, after enjoying not only bonuses but also a Category 1 peak, of course, yesterday as well along the way. Robbie, this finale, Biniam Gourmet did it on his own when he went into Torino on stage 3. He wasn't the chosen sprinter. Gerben Tyson was the man who had the lead-out train at his disposal. That completely switched around for his second victory in Column Bay, where he used his lead-out, a little bit of more of a lumpy approach than we've got today. But nonetheless, bunch sprint scenario beat Jasper Philipsen. On the first occasion, he beat Gaviria, Deli, Pedersen and Groenewegen. So he can do it in both scenarios, and today the pressure is going to be on him. There's confirmation of the points that they have just assembled. Our breakaway hoovering up the first 4 places. 11 points went, as you've just seen, to Gourmet, who finished 5th. In 6th place was Philipsen, so he is now at a 75-point deficit. But what I'm going to say to you, Robbie, is we have a hell of a battle for the green jersey. It's absolutely ramping up, and depending on today's result, it could get even closer if it goes the way of Philipsen.
If it goes the way of Philipsen, and let's say Biniam Gourmet finishes in 2nd, it would be narrowed to 55 points. But Philipsen is simply running out of possible sprint stages. Just thinking back to the battles I had over the years for Greens, I would hate to be staring down the barrel of a 75 point deficit at this moment.
Coming through Gordon. Yes, there's a sprint day tomorrow, we believe, but with the climbs coming late, it could be a breakaway, so that could extinguish that. At most, Robbie, there's probably, what, 2, I would say. Definitely the run into Nîmes for stage 16, and maybe Po tomorrow, we'll see.
Oh, yeah, so probably in Po tomorrow. In Nîmes, dependent on the wind. I still believe even if it splits, if there were crosswinds down there, and don't take today as a guide because a very different region, and Nîmes is, around there is just so very open. Even on a fairly calm day, it feels breezy. Things could really split to pieces. That could be an action-packed echelon stage if the wind gets up. I'll go and check the forecast shortly to see what they're expecting in a few days' time, but might only know the day before a bit more accurately. But let's say we have Philipsen take 20 points back on Gourmet at the finish today, and again tomorrow we'll certainly race on with another flat one around Nîmes and all the things that could happen there. It's not over yet, but 75 points is incredibly hard to shut down. If nothing happens to Gourmet, I'd be confident for him that he will win the green jersey.
He basically just has to get on a tow rope behind Philipsen to almost guarantee it.
But you never feel safe, though, in that situation, even though it's when you're chasing it, you think, oh, that is such a massive deficit. When you're in front with 75 points, you don't trust anyone or anything. And you don't feel quite secure because you know you've still got to finish the job.
John, this is absolutely beautiful countryside. It almost looks like Hobbitville. It's phenomenal.
It's looking very green, looking much greener than I would expect it to be at this time of year, but there has been a lot of rain in France as well. Gourdon, which we're just coming through, the third largest town in the lot, coming behind the aforementioned Cahors and Figeac as well. So this was built as a centre of the Bourriane region, and is very famous. So it's said to have been the place where Richard the Lionheart was killed. Hang on, let me get this right. I've done that slightly backwards. A member of the family from there, Bertrand de Gourdon, is said to have been the person who killed Richard the Lionheart with a crossbow shot at Chalus in 1199. So someone from Gourdon who killed Richard Coeur de Lion.
Coeur de Lion, one of the big brands of cheeses up from Normandy, which we haven't visited this year. Neither, indeed, the entire west coast of France. We're quite compact in this year's race, Sean, in terms of our geography, aren't we?
Well, with the start being in Italy for the first number of days, that limited, how much you could go all around France. So we are here to a one-sided really, yeah, what a race has been. It's been an exceptional start.
Just pondering the geography of this year's race. Indeed, we'll visit the Alps twice in total, Sean, unusual.
Yes, well, that is unusual. Normally, you visit the Pyrenees, the Alps, and then you go all the way around, whatever the direction is of that particular year. But this one is a one where we're more to the east, and yeah, it's a route, as I said. It worked out very well at the earlier part. We had some excellent days racing, and it's going on here. And I can see today, another day where it is going to be a testing day for a lot of the riders that have started to feel the fatigue, and we're approaching the mountains, as we know over the weekend. So it's proven to be a good, very interesting route, but also a difficult one. And when you look at that final week, it's a really, really challenging one. And talk about the green jersey, of course, with Gourmet, he has an excellent lead there, but you're always concerned that you can lose out big time on just one day. Intermediate sprints as well, on the days where it's not for the sprinters at all. There's a lot of opportunities to pick up points there before we get into the mountains on that chosen day. So yeah, this fight is going to go all the way, I think, right down to the very end. And Philipsen is going to keep on the pressure on, as we can see him doing. But yeah, Gourmet is proven in the sprint we've just seen. He is going super well, and in the uphill sprints he is the best.
Plenty of climbing to be survived. The Abbé Nouvelle, John. Are we anywhere near the Cathar areas?
We're getting closer to them. Yeah, I affectionately note that is the new abbey. Built in 1242. It's just one of the. It's like the Pont Neuf in Paris, which is the new bridge as it was, and is now the oldest bridge in Paris. That's Guillaume de Gourdon, who bequeathed his possessions in lordship of Sabiac to the Abbey of Aubazine, and that generous donation saw them build that beautiful new abbey.
Well, from Abbey to Matt, he's on board the bike with the latest injection, and the pace coming from Albertine here.
Bon appétit. We have not long passed through the official ravitaillement, feed zone, whatever you want to call it. And those lovely folks at Bahrain Victorious have given me a musette full of food so we can get a look at what the riders have for lunch. So I'm going to delve in. It's like a lucky dip. There's 2 bidons full of, well, water and carbohydrate electrolyte drink. We have some energy bars. We've also got some gels. There's a couple of those as well. We have a cheeky can of Coke. Always nice. I'll be having that when we've done this. But my favourite, and a favourite of the riders, is these special homemade rice cakes. Now these are absolutely amazing. I'm going to eat one on the go for you. Now these are lighter than normal. The traditional rice cakes are quite heavy and wet. These are lighter and apparently easier to digest. Made, home-baked by the soigneurs at Bahrain Victorious. Just going to unravel it. Just look at that. Okay, I'm going to pop it in. Mais oui, c'est magnifique. Tout à l'heure. Back to the commentators.
Thank you, Matt. BAFTA's in the post. That was fantastic.
So after he started speaking with his mouth full, I noticed the car behind it to put the windscreen wipers on and spray the windscreen. And they're not bugs that was getting on it.
I was hoping we were going to get tasting notes from it. Quite often honey, you name it. Something sweet and high carb there, Robbie.
Yeah, but unfortunately, Bahrain Victorious had a spare feed bag they could hand off to Matt because Pio Bilbao did not need his anymore as he's abandoned from the race with illness, unfortunately. So that's 2 men in 2 days, with Fred Wright yesterday and Pio Bilbao today.
Sean, the pace is on, and it's been kicked on here by Alpecin de Koenig. They may not have spent all of their resources in that intermediate sprint, but they have a mind on the finale today, do they not?
Well, they have been doing that for quite a long time at this stage. The moment the break was formed after that crash we had with a number of riders, they got the advantage they needed, and then that just stopped the other teams thinking, well, we might be able to make the breakaway as well, and it's turned out to be the breakaway of the day. But with 4 riders, it was always going to be difficult, and Alpecin de Koenig are doing a great job here, and we can see Sylvain Dillier there. He is riding on the front there. Soren Krauw Andersen, he's also contributing lots. So those are the 2 riders who are been controlling the front of the peloton for Alpecin, and they're doing a magnificent job. As you can see, 121 is coming down, and when you get into the final, there'll be more teams that will contribute a little with another man there. So for the breakaway, it's just too lean an advantage to be able to go still with 80 kilometers to do here. They have put up a brave battle, but the power behind in the peloton is going to be just that too much.
Sad news. Well, in terms of the gap, it's extended to over 9 minutes now for Fedorov and Rickert, who took a tumble earlier on today. It's almost becoming a constant theme, Robbie. And you kind of get to expect it, don't you, as you go, indeed, beyond the halfway mark of this very difficult race. It started with a bang, and that run to Rimini, and it hasn't stopped since.
It's been an incredibly difficult race. Just the high speeds, the aggressive racing that we've seen, but also the course itself. Been some really tough stages. Not the high mountain stages so far, apart from going over the Galibier. There hasn't been high mountains. but there's been plenty of really tough climbs and undulating parcours that just do not let up and don't give you a chance to recover throughout the day. And we've seen a whole host of really tough stages. So it's the fatigue level of the riders. And have you put on top of that taking a tumble as Jonas Rickard did today, that makes it so very difficult. And also, it's going to make it even more difficult for his team, Alpecin de Koning, because they're already taking responsibility for the chase, along with Movistar.
I will repeat what Jared said. It's also a possibility that more attacks will come in the final when the breakaway will be caught.
Be vigilant is indeed the watchword as we welcome back Adam Blythe into conversation. Adam, I was actually just going to ask you, just before that came through, whether we can expect more action off the front and whether this is going to be energy badly spent for Alpecin de Koning.
Well, it won't be badly spent. They need to do it, and you know Philipsen's in great form, great condition. Looks like Van der Poel's finding his legs again as well, so I don't think it's for nothing. But there is a possibility of attacks. The only thing is, with a tailwind down to the finish, they are really going to have to be motoring. The effort they're going to have to make to get that gap and then sustain it, it's going to be very, very difficult. And I'd say it would just be, it's not going to be a waste of energy, but at the same time, you're going to have diamonds in the legs.
Yeah, I'll be surprised if we see attacks once this is caught. It depends if they start to sort of just feather it a bit now, once they've got it really under control at around a minute, if they push on to catch it at this same rate they've been chasing lately, or they just want to let it hang there a bit. We often see that. But that's also the point at which the peloton can make a mistake. You go, okay, close enough, got it under control, let's let it drift a little bit again, and then the chase doesn't get going as well as it was before. Teams get standoffish about making a contribution, and the break just take what they can get. And when you're chasing guys like Turgis and Abrahamsen, you could find yourself making a mistake.
Happened last year, Robbie, in the run to Bourg-en-Bresse, stage 18, when Kasper Asgreen, Pascal Econ, and guess who? Jonas Abrahamsen were up in the breakaway, and Jasper Philipsen was the man who had his heart broken. He finished in 4th place. There was no time gaps between them declared because of the pace of the sprinters who were coming in. And Asgreen, indeed, only just missed out the following day, actually, as well. So, yeah, it can happen. And I'm just wondering whether today these guys, they've got a minute and 8. If it's not them, it may well still be somebody else.
Yeah, even if they're caught, I wouldn't be giving a new break a lot of chance of making it. I would believe that other teams would get involved then and then take some responsibility with it. You know, now it's only 77k to go. If a new break forms, it might only be by 50k that they get some gap if they even go. Then other teams have 50k to go. Let's get amongst it.
I think the positioning as well, more than anything nowadays. You know, it starts so early on where the front of the peloton becomes so busy, it blocks the road. The GC guys want to be there, the teams want to be there. Then all of a sudden it's just stretched wide across the road and there's no room to move up. So the GC teams especially are doing that earlier and earlier now. And especially with the tailwind, it's going to make it super fast. So is there going to be space to attack when the teams start lining up to do that? And are you willing to do that? You know, it's going to be such a hard effort leading into a finish like this, into a tailwind, when the speeds are probably knocking on 55, 60k an hour from 30, 40k out.
Yeah, I think a lot of riders will resign themselves to a bunch sprint today.
I think you would want to as well after yesterday's day.
Well, you've also got to think that if you've got the legs and the mind to go in a breakaway, then tomorrow may be worth holding yourself back for, with the little climblets towards the end of the day, 2 category 4s late on in our run to Pau. Adam, as you say, you know, it can be too much of a cost to actually. Is it worth the candle, essentially, to push on, especially for some of the sprinters' teams that want to get something out of the day from a bunch sprint? Tomorrow looms larger. The rest of the race so far has been tough. We're only just over halfway, for goodness sake.
I've seen breaks get away late and survive into the streets of Pau and take the stage victories. Leon van Bon, the Dutchman, he did it once. He was in the company of Jens Vogt on that occasion.
Yeah. it's possible, and there's a stage win up for grabs, so the riders have to give it a go. And if they're feeling good, who knows? Like I said, there is a lot of tired legs out there, but if you're feeling good, you might be able to benefit from that. But you would have to be feeling very good, I can imagine.
I must admit, I was very intrigued by the busyness of the top of the day today, after we'd had such an enormous series of kilometres going by. What, nearly 100 yesterday to establish a break? It's been tough racing since the very beginning of this year's Tour de France, and it's made for incredibly entertaining viewing. Even the quiet days have been loud, Adam.
Every day, Carlton, really, hasn't it? I mean, we've been treated at home sitting on our sofas watching this, or wherever you are watching it. We have been treated from day one right up until this point. We had the quiet day where Philipsen won. The easiest day in the Tour de France, as Geraint Thomas has said, the easiest day he's ever had, not just in this Tour de France. But apart from that, it's just been from the start line to the finish line pretty much every day. Fantastic racing, and yesterday especially, you know, when you look back, think how entertaining yesterday was from start to finish, brilliant.
Amazing.
Then you look back to the gravel stage, same thing again, absolutely incredible. And then you look back to Mark Cavendish's historic win. It really has been a Tour de France where each day has almost been, I know everybody's saying it, but it's been treated like a one-day race.
Every single one of them is like a whole series of classics just glued together. And in fact, we're sort of classics distances as well, aren't we, Robbie? I mean, this is no short day, 204 kilometres. We're kind of lucky it's not baking, which it can be in this part of the world.
Well, at least we're not baking. We're in air-conditioned studios. But if you ask the riders, I think they'll say at the end of the day it was another hot one. 30 degrees it is out there, actually.
Oh, I got it a little less than that, yeah.
So it is hot out there today. It's going to get even hotter in a couple of days' time. I went back and... I went forward and checked the weather forecast for Tuesday when the race hits Nîmes, because we were talking about possible crosswinds that day. If they were racing there tomorrow, it would be a stress fest. Wind up to 44 kilometres an hour, but by Tuesday, the forecast is for it to... the wind changed direction from a westerly to a northerly, and a lot lighter breezes. Gusts up to 32, but tomorrow's the windy day around Nîmes. Can you imagine when it is windy around there, it's enough to blow the froth off your cappuccino.
And some.
And riders off the road. But it's not forecast to be that. But it's also forecast to be 33 to 34 degrees there on Tuesday. So that's another hot one.
Sean Kelly teasing me. We were talking about whether it was the Mistral or the Sirocco. And apparently...
the Sirocco's a desert wind.
Yeah, well, apparently there's a part of our border with Spain that actually describes it as such in this. And I got into an enormous argument with Juan Antonio Flecha, who got very animated, I must admit, about the whole thing. But anyway, it wasn't my fault. But yeah, we repaired it, thankfully. It's Total Energies, the team minus 11 bikes. Let's see what they've got to say. Mind of the break. There we are. It could expose itself to attacks. So they're holding themselves out here. That was a modicum of encouragement there, Adam.
They've got to encourage them. They really need to encourage them. You know, it's 55 seconds, 73 k to go. They'll be knocking on at 50k an hour. So it's not going to be long before they get to the finish. So if you look at that speed, it's just over 2 hours racing. Well, a little bit more. Yeah, around 2 hours racing to go. And then you think of that 1 minute down. It's in this speed. Look, 63, 64 k's an hour. If the breakaway's doing 58, 59 in the same place, that's a lot of firepower they've got to use. And Sylvain Dillier on the front here, he's been on the front doing this many a times for these days. And it doesn't look like he's just rolling along, does it?
No, he's been riding sort of this look of intensity since he got up there. He is a phenomenal rider. I think it's easy to underestimate the work done by a rider like him on the front chasing breaks.
I think when they get more popular within the peloton, you know, Tim de Klerk was probably the most known rider that did it, and he was the tractor, Tim de Klerk the tractor, and he was unbelievable. And it's
Here's
not
your chance. Come up with a nickname for Sylvain Dillier if he already hasn't got one.
I'll think of that. The Silver Surfer, Sylvain the Surfer. Maybe not, that's terrible. Apologies everyone at home. But it's not just riding on the front at this tempo which makes this so good at what he does, but it's also being able to hold the brake at the right time. You know, when you're in the peloton and you really feel it, it's very, very difficult to know what speed to ride at and where, and it's such an art to be able to do so. 1 minute you ride faster because you're feeling better, you bring the brake back too much. And for the likes of Tim de Klerk, he was just phenomenal at it.
I think we are empty from that climb now because I have the feeling that Alpecin wants to close it. Or have the race break, that the race breaks open again. So I think we have to be really sharp now on that Cat 4 climb.
Warning of the dangers of it all kicking off over this next climb. It's a short one. Category 4, Abramson likely to still survive to take that point. It peaks at 68.1 kilometres to go, but as you can see, the peloton already climbing. Nice to see Movistar now folding in behind Gaviria, who's not been the best supported. He's had to do it on his own and still had some stellar results. And if they can back
See you
him
guys
up
tomorrow.
and give him some protection now that their GC hopes are waning a little bit, let's put it that way, is a best description perhaps for them.